Hi, everyone that's joining. I know it's just bang on 12, so we probably will have a couple of people that join later. But thank you for joining this IWFM webinar by the special interest group of customer experience. You see, there are some people with me today and a lot of other in the background. So I guess just to make sure that we have a lot of people coming in on the few first minutes, maybe I'll do a little bit of an introduction about SIG. So if you don't know, IWFM has a lot of special interest group, and then we'll talk about another group later, which is workplace. And we have customer experience. I think we have been in situ for 2 years, and there's always a chance to join our SIG, many of other SIGs of the IWFM. And what happened is they sometimes give us the chance to be completely autonomous and create our own webinar. So being the kind of special interest group for customer experience, we thought there's nothing best than doing a webinar with an award-winning customer experience, workplace experience place. So we will have some people from UCAS talking to us and effectively representing the presentation they did to IWFM to get the award last year already, we're kind of this year. And then after that, we'll have a panel with some of the experts and equally debating what we've seen on UCAS, or I've got some question for them on measurement and with like examples that hopefully everybody on the call can also take away, really, right? There's nothing more annoying on a webinar than being like, I didn't get anything from that. So hopefully you'll get some experience from UCAS on what they've done to win the award, but also some takeaway about what those experts are doing. So without further ado, I think I will ask for a quick introduction from the guys. I say let's just introduce each other with like your name, what you do, where you work, etc. But it would be cool to have like a tiny bit of a sentence about where was your best customer experience. So just we kind of get into the theme. I don't have a favorite order. Maybe Ian H. Shall I say? Because we have two Ian today. If you want to start.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks very much, Maud. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Ian Humphrey. I'm the Workplace Experience Manager at UCAS. Been with the company now about 3 years, helped deliver the new ways of working that we're going to sort of go through today. Previously, 20 years experience as workplace change manager and workplace design, so helping companies change from traditional ways of working to modern models that we see today. The experience I have was 30 years ago, so it shows you how good it is. That's still stuck in my mind. And at that time, although today you probably think, oh, it's nothing, but then it was something a bit of a wow. So Marks and Spencer's were delivering a sofa to the house. And before they arrived, they actually phoned about an hour before to say, we'll be there in an hour, which I know happens a lot now, but 30 years ago was unheard of. You just had to wait in all day. And then secondly, when they actually arrived, they actually put stuff down on the floor. They actually put mats down on the floor so they didn't walk on the carpet. And that just absolutely blew me away because that's just, I say 30 years ago, that was totally unheard of. And that's stuck with me ever since. And nothing's probably beat that in terms of a wow factor. So there you go.
Yeah, I love that. That's good. And like you say, when it's so good, it stays. And I bet when I've asked you to kind of prep for that, you automatically knew what you were going to say, isn't it?
Absolutely.
How about we go for Graham? So we stay on the UCAS team.
Hi there. Yep. So I'm Graham Williams. I am the Facilities and Estates Manager here at UCAS. I've been here for 5 years. I joined slap bang in the middle of COVID, so that was an interesting start to my life of UCAS. So I concentrate on site, increasingly looking after more of the hard FM and the M&E side of things with the team on site. Looking after the capital project planning and management of works on the site, be that PPM, reactive project works like our ways of working that we're talking about now. Previous to that, I was in the tourism and hospitality. I worked for Westmoreland family for a few years as a facilities manager, and then previous to that, I was working in the arts. In the arts world as technical and production management. So
Nice.
so yeah, so I'm coming at it more from a technical hard FM side and the sustainability angle, Maud.
Love it. Love it.
Customer experience. I struggled with this, but so I guess, putting our boring FM heads on, obviously often the best customer experience is where you don't notice anything going wrong, essentially. But yeah, I suppose very recently I had a contractor do some work for me, and delivered some hard upstanding for me free of charge and unprompted and to a very good standard. So
That's
we'll
so.
take that.
Yeah,
It beats
yeah.
getting back on the phone and asking why something's not been done for a
And
change.
FM is never boring, by the way, never boring. We love what we do, don't we? We love what we do. And clearly when you introduce each other, it's funny how you have like a gigantic, like, yeah, I do basically all of that. So definitely not boring. Love it. Love it. I've got next, Jonathan.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Jonathan Acott. I'm the head of experience for Chiswick Park. Enjoy working in West London, 1.8 million square feet of business park. And if my guests or my team experience it in any way, shape or form, it falls down to me and my team to deliver, from events through to marketing, through to the cultural fit. My background is interesting. I'm much an outlier here. I've done 25 years in hospitality and customer service, not in services, but actually in cultural fit and how you align your guest experience to how you perform as a business. And I was also traveling the world as a speaker prior to this as well.
Nice.
In terms of my best guest experience, again, slightly different. I think good customer experience is relatively easy to do. I think rectification of problems is a lot harder. So my standout moments are always when something's gone wrong and somebody has gone above and beyond resolving that issue. The Ritz-Carlton were exceptional. British Airways have been exceptional in the past as well. So actually is drawn to problems and the culture of a business that will allow teams to rectify those problems above and beyond reasonable expectations.
Love this. Love this. The fact that sometimes, hopefully, all of you guys also listening, you are trusted to do that. So when something is wrong, you know what to do, but you also have the passion to want to make it better. We know this. This is how the world works, really. Things goes wrong all the time in FM. So there we are. Great. And then we have not the least, Ian Baker.
Thank you, Maud. Yeah, hello, everyone. I'm Ian Baker. I'm head of workplace for MCore UK. We're an outsourced FM provider. Been in the role for nearly 9 years now, and I support all of our customers in their goal of improving workplace performance and experience. My career background has been pretty much in the built environment since leaving school, really. Started at a housing association and then moved into project management. Then into FM, then back out of FM, and then back into FM again. So kind of been a bit back and forth. But my general background is in design and property consulting and project management. And I like to think that workplace kind of found me about eight years ago when I joined MCore. Then I realised that I'd been doing it all along, just hadn't really known what the name of it was. So it was kind of interesting to put a name and a profession behind it. At that point, I did join the Institute of Workplace and Facilities Management just when it had the name change, but pretty much because of the addition of workplace. And I am now the current chair of the Workspace Special Interest Group, and you're all very welcome to contact me about joining that as well. And we'll be looking to do some events later on in this year, which I hope many of you will be able to attend. Yeah, my amazing customer experience. I really struggled actually, and I realised in the end,
gonna like grab it so quickly, like yeah.
I think like many, we all experience really great customer experience and workplace experience, but I think in the end it's the unexpected element that really kind of is a remembering thing for me. And I do remember running for a meeting. Getting caught out in the rain, ran into a coffee shop, and the person behind the counter gave me a free cup of coffee. And that really made my day and helped with the drying off and getting to my meeting on time as well. So it's the unexpected stuff that I find really helps with the workplace customer experience.
Yeah, I adore that. And then some of you already said it, unexpected, not costly, or costly in terms of money or time. And this is where you realize maybe Jonathan is right. It's not that hard. It is hard in terms of like, if it's not your forte, you might have to get out of your way a little bit. But if it's, hopefully all of you on the webinar are a bit like this, like us, we want to give something great to the customer. It kind of comes easily, even on the panic moments. Thank you so much, guys. I think that kind of set the tone for this customer experience for the FM industry. And we hope that you all understand, and if we hear there's a reason. We really are now more than ever after COVID, after all of that, we are helping all of our clients, all of our in-house organization to give the best customer experience to them. So it's always interesting to link what's the workplace do to the employee experience and then to the customer experience. And yet again, for us, our customers are the employees or the visitor that comes. Like I think about Jonathan and your park, you just don't have just employees actually. So if we want to go, if everybody's happy, we're going to go to the UCAS presentation. I think about probably 20 minutes of presentation. You'll have a chance to put some question in the Q&A that you should all see on your screens, on your Zoom. And then I have Jeff on the background that can help me to make sure that I've got some nice question at the end. We won't have time for too many questions because where we want to go after the presentation is the panel with all of us. So without further ado, if Ian, H, and Graham are okay, I'll pass through the slide. Tell me when I need to change.
Okay. Thanks, Maud. Yeah, straight on to the next one, please. Go. Thank you. Okay, bit of background then. Who are UCAS? I'm sure many of you will have heard of UCAS from one way or another, mainly to do with A-level results day, when either yourselves or someone in your family has been having a bit of a panic over the results, and you've called UCAS because UCAS obviously manage the whole process around getting students into universities. Just to say, it is a bit more than that. Actually, we do a lot more. It's about lifelong learning rather than just going into university. So it's about apprenticeships as well. So we do an awful lot around apprenticeships these days. And I say lifelong learning. So it's not just around 18 to 20-year-olds who are looking to go to do university work after A levels. It's actually much bigger than that. It's for any age group and obviously international as well. So, we have a lot of international students that come through us to apply for spaces at university too. So it's a year-round process already into next year's process already in terms of doing this sort of all kinds of drop-in centres and road shows around the UK. So it's a massive operation. In terms of where we are, we're based in Cheltenham. We've got a head office there and we employ around about 600 people. So not a massive organisation to be fair for what we do, but very well versed in terms of delivering results day, which we may touch on a wee bit. So in terms of where we came from, so pre-COVID and at the beginning of COVID, a very traditional office sort of environment, which you'll see an image in a minute of what it was like. And that meant that everyone was in 4 or 5 days a week, basically. So we had 5 floor plates, 4 of them were main office floor plates that were occupied on a daily basis. Obviously, the vision that came in was right, with COVID and modern ways of working. I think there was an appetite to do something around that as an organisation, and it was about revisiting what that model was, and also not just the model, but obviously the space needs to reflect what people wanted. So that's what we did. So next slide, please. Well, thank you. So this was the old office space, and this was taken a couple of weeks ago, so it still looks like that because we used it for our call centre activities on A-level results day. But as you can see there, a big expanse of desks. Everyone had lockers, everyone had their team zones, everyone had all of basically their own desks. So it was a very traditional way of working in there. Not exactly inspiring, some bright colours, which probably at the time were a great idea 20, 30 years ago, but not quite the same now. So you can imagine, people who were working in there then moved across the floor to our new office space. It was a bit of a massive wow factor, which is a nice thing. That's an easy win for us in a way. So, okay, next please, Maud. Thank you. Just to state, we did the project in 3 phases because we had 3 floors. So we had the ground floor, first floor, and the second floor. On the second floor, we had our sort of data center. So we had to be careful around that for obvious reasons. And we were still occupying the space as well. So we didn't want to do all 3 floors at the same time, so we phased it, which actually helped us massively, because as you can see there, first floor and second ground floor we did first, and then there's a bit of a pause for the second floor because we had the A-level results period. We couldn't do any works during then, but that allowed us to revisit what we actually designed in the first and get some feedback from the users, which allowed us to make some tweaks, which is, again, I'll touch on as we go through, if that's okay. Okay, next slide, please, Maud. Okay, so this one slide, I'm just going to talk around it. So, you know, I don't do slide by reading what's on the slides. This is just literally a prompt, really. So the key drivers for us is around what the building was itself, and Graham will touch on that in a minute in terms of what the building does and how it helps us. Inclusivity, the key thing for the whole of this was EDI and inclusivity, and making sure that everyone voices were heard, and that we try to include as much as we can, obviously within the budget, as you can expect, but doing what we could to make sure our people were happy, and that we enable people to collaborate. Because, you know, one of the key things with new ways and hybrid working, as we've got now our new model, is about making sure that people can collaborate, and whether they're remote or whether they're in the office, the experience is as sort of parallel as possible, so you don't feel exiled if you're on the call, on a video call, when other people are in the meeting face to face. It's trying to create a parity. So we did that with some of the technology solutions. So, okay, so running through this then, in terms of our vision, what we do, if you think about it, it was about providing people, you know, being an employer of choice. If you want to be an employer of choice, you've got to be able to be flexible. You've got to understand what's important, and also where you're getting your base from in terms of your employees. So by introducing hybrid work, and opens your resource pool massively, makes a massive difference for us. What did we do in terms of tools? Obviously, a lot of consultation groups. So we've got staff consultation groups, we've got a wellbeing consultation group, we've got an EDI consultation group. So we started to engage with those guys right up the front in terms of the design. And also staff surveys. What did you want? What do you want from your workplace going forward? If we're going to a hybrid work, what do you want from it? So all that information came from those groups, and the staff survey and the workshops as well. And us going and looking at other sites and seeing what other people were doing. So all that information came in to give us a really good idea of what the design could and should be, and what do people want. And I think that's really key with all of this, isn't it? With the experience, is listening to what people want, listening really carefully, and picking up on what the key themes are that were coming through. And the key themes that people were talking about was they want to be able to collaborate. They wanted to have that choice when they came into the office. They wanted it to be an invigorating office space, that when they walked in, they were like, wow, I love this place. And that's what we really drove to deliver. So in terms of what we did, in terms of that accessibility stuff, we did an accessibility audit. So we looked at, okay, how can we make the design as accessible as possible? And we did that through numerous different ways, in terms of discussing it with our own people. What we had an external consultancy giving us some advice as well, in terms of what good looks like. And then obviously looking at things like work-life balance, what was important to people, and what was going to help them be productive as possible. Because at the end of the day, you want to be an employer of choice. You want your people to be productive. To do that, you need to make sure you give them something that's attractive to them, but also makes them feel valued. And I think that was a key thing for us. And the last thing on there is around variety, is making sure that we had lots of different choices for people. So instead of people coming in and just sitting at the same desk all the time, it's right, I need somewhere quiet, we've got quiet spaces. I need somewhere to collaborate, we've got collaboration spaces. We've got meeting rooms, we've got one-to-one pods, we've got call booths. We've got everything that people were telling us they wanted, and that was important to them in terms of an office environment. And that when they came into the office, because if you think about it, people are working at home as well, is when they're in the office, giving them that experience that supports them. And that includes the technology as well. So it's people, place, and technology. Those three things were kind of fundamental for us. So that was the variety there, but also variety at home. So we tried to help people at home as well. So we made sure that the environment at home, so if they didn't have a desk but needed one, we got one home to them. If they need monitors, we got them home for them. So we tried to make sure we were, as giving people a good experience at home as well as in the office. Because as you kind of know, generally people say the environment at home is better than what they have in the office, and that could be temperature control, light control, everything else. So it's about trying to make it as comfortable as possible. Okay, so just before I pass over to Graham, I'll just talk about some of the actions you undertook, if that's okay, in terms of the space and the feedback and everything else that we undertook. We actually introduced Braille signage in. That was one of the recommendations, just to, again, to help with inclusivity. We had gender neutral sort of shower and changing toilet rooms that we didn't have previously. which again, you know, made a difference and was a reflection of what was asked for. Quiet space, had a bit of a challenge around quiet space. I'll come back to that in a wee bit, but we're getting there and we're going to change it. But the whole thing around hybrid working and around people having the consistency that whenever they said, some of the feedback we had from people was, love coming into the new office because it doesn't matter where to sit, I get the same experience because the chairs are all the same. So you haven't got to faff around with different types of chairs. You know, the desk setup's the same. We've got 2 big 24-inch monitors on monitor arms. That was all designed so anyone could sit anywhere to meet their needs, whether that was obviously ergonomics or anything else. A third of our desks are sit stand. We couldn't afford to do all sit stand. We'd love to, but you know, budgets are budgets. So a third of our desks are sit stand, which enables people with accessibility issues or anything else, any challenges that people have got, it gives them that choice. And just from, I say, from an ergonomics, people like to stand up. If you're sitting down all day, it's not good for your back. So it's about, again, taking all that information on board and designing it into the spaces. And the one thing we'll say around sit stand, when we did the first floor, we put the sit stand desk, the electric ones, nearest the window. And that was for an aesthetic reason, that designer said, because there's a bit more work underneath. So it didn't look as nice if it was on vision. So anyway, the feedback we got from our users was, well, actually, that makes it really difficult for the people who are got accessible, you know, might have a wheelchair or on crutches or whatever. They've got to get past 2 other people to get to those desks. So we actually, in the next phase, we spun them around and made it more practical. So there's things like that we did as we went through the project, which made a big difference for us. And that has helped us, you know, that 70% there was positive. The rest of it was sort of neutral in terms of where people are. So if you think of an 80-20 rule, we're not far off where we wanted to be in terms of people being happy with what they've kind of had, really, in terms of what we delivered for them. So overall, a fantastic sort of shape. But in terms of the actual physical space, I'll let Graham talk a wee bit about what we've done in terms of making the office sustainable, which is, again, is a big agenda item for our people. Graham?
Thanks, Ian. So yeah, I probably should just say right at the start that actually we are based in Cheltenham, even though myself and Ian are both from Merseyside. Don't be confused. We're the only 2 Liverpudlians in the entire building, I think. But anyway, we're in the same team. So yeah, so we're based in Cheltenham. We're 80,000 square foot site, as Ian said, with 600 staff, typically formally spread across 3 floors. And the majority of that number was full-time, Monday through Friday, sitting in the same desks, putting their same dirty mugs in the same drawers. So obviously COVID hit us. The world went upside down. Post-COVID, we knew those numbers. We knew we'd never be going back to those occupancy numbers again. And what was the norm going to be? At that point, we had the challenge of post-COVID from a workplace perspective, but we also were in the position where actually the building was ready for a bit of a refresh anyway, because the building was starting to look tired, as you've seen from that previous picture. So we were fairly confident at the outset that we could basically move UCAS into half of the building, into the east half of the building. We have 2 tenants on site. At that point, we had 2 tenants on site. One of whom lives on the ground floor on the west side of our building. We also had another tenant who lived on the east side of the building at that point, but for various COVID-related reasons, the lease was never renewed, so they left site, and that kind of informed part of our thinking of, okay, we'll reoccupy that space, we'll repurpose that space back to UCAS, and we will take over the east side of the building. So site's 30 years old. Part of a big driver for me, well, for the business, obviously, but for me specifically in my role was looking at the sustainability angle of the refurb. From the outset, it was clear that the budget wasn't going to allow for a complete renewal of 30-year-old HVAC and M&E, so we had to identify the affordable wins. To that end, we set to work with the principal designer, the principal contractor. We identified some of the common efficiencies and sustainabilities that we're all familiar with, in terms of we replaced all the fluorescent lighting. We replaced it throughout with LED lighting. We combined that with motion sensor switching in the office floor plates. We replaced our BMS systems. We put a new trend BMS control system in. So we were fortunate enough to be able to, at that point, to start replacing some of the pumps on the heating and cooling side with inverter driven pumps, which obviously then tied in with the BMS system. So we were starting to get better control of the site, both for ourselves and for our tenants, who are obviously on the end of the same systems ultimately. We also looked site. We're essentially north and south facing, so the south side of the building gets very hot. We get a lot of thermal. We were getting a lot of thermal gain, so we installed some brise soleil into some of our south facing meeting rooms, which obviously gave us the benefit of reducing the thermal gain without having to put an energy input into that in terms of increasing our cooling demand. It was just a passive. It was an easy win, passive gain really. All the desking we have has got auto off monitors, so we don't have to worry about anybody going home on a Friday afternoon, leaving their monitor on until the following Monday. We try to repurpose as much as we could from the old world. Now that, that was limited, but we managed to repurpose some of the soft furnishings. We reupholstered some of the soft furnishings to try, obviously with a budget, from a budget perspective, but also from the sustainability of what can we reuse, what can we bring over to the new UCAS from the old UCAS that will do the job. We installed new recycling stations to kind of rationalize our waste streams, and we combined that in with our waste contract with the objective of obviously minimizing the amount of waste we were sending to landfill. And that also helps staff, because the recycling stations have got better comms around, and better signage. People know where they're putting their cans, etc., etc. I think probably one of the biggest gains we got from a building services side of the work was on our third floor east. We had a data center that was probably taking up the best part of about 6,000 square feet, which was a kind of bygone dinosaur from UCAS, which by the time I came on board was probably less than a third full of actual servers and tech kit. So we took the opportunity. We worked alongside the tech teams on site and our IT teams, and we kind of distilled down what we actually needed to keep on site from a server hardware perspective. And from that, we basically managed to reduce the footprint of our data center. We moved it from its previous location over to a corner of the second floor, which freed up all that space to incorporate into our new imagined space for seating positions, desk positions, and the whole aesthetics of the floor changed. And in doing that, we also ended up with a better operational data center that had new crack cooling systems in it. We had N+1 redundancy on the cooling. So from a resilience perspective, we ticked the big box there. And ultimately, we reduced the energy consumption from our previous data center to the one we run now. We're looking at about 65% less energy consumption going into cooling that space, which amounts to probably over £40,000 a year to the business. So in terms of energy sustainability and a business argument, that's been a real success to us. So that was a really good thing from a building services that we managed to incorporate into the whole ways of working package.
I am quite keen to see. I know you've got a couple of slides more, and I know we have a panel as well, Graham. Should I get on to the next slide as well?
Yeah, by all means. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that, Graham. Just quickly then on where we are now then, obviously delivering is one thing, then learning from what you've delivered and getting feedback and continuous improvement is what we're all about. So what have we done? We've increased our sort of occupancy levels now around about 60%, Monday to Friday. If you just look at trip days, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, we're looking at around about 70%. We have business unit days, so when departments come in, they take over the whole floor, that type of thing, which again brings people together. They enjoy that, but also it enables people to, it makes the building work as well. So there's lots of benefits there. We do little things like having jigsaws out in the kitchenette, and believe it or not, the feedback we've had and just having jigsaws out, that people can take 5 minutes out of their day and just chilling. I love doing it myself. I'm not a big jigsaw person, but just that little thing like that makes a massive difference. So there's little things like that we're continuously to do. We're obviously looking to let the space on the west floor now that we don't use anymore. We did use a fair level results there as our call center, which was a bonus. And I say all the feedback we get lots of positive feedback, and we're still getting ideas coming through, which makes a big difference. And we do continue to adapt. So, for example, we're putting in a new quiet area because one we had feedback from was that it wasn't working great. So we've chosen somewhere else. We've also engaged with a new neurodiversity group that we've got now to understand what their needs are, and how we can build that into. So lots of things ongoing, never ending really, but yeah, it's good and it's positive that we're getting feedback.
Nice.
Okay. I think that's it. I think one more slide.
Yeah, that was a nice slide to kind of show, like, the building, what you've done now, especially if you remember the picture of before. And and I have to say, like, from being part of the kind of judges from the IWFM award, I think how did you won our hearts and mind on this one? Because we all heard some refurbishments after COVID, like, not everybody has done this, but quite a lot have done this. I think what you really captured was diversity and inclusion. I think your project clearly has done quite a lot of saving as well. So it wasn't just, kind of just making a big project with big amount of budget. I think you've tried to make so much, like Ram, you've been so thorough with like what you've done sustainability. So not just thinking about what we could do now, but how is it going to impact the building later? And the fact that you still have some good feedback or some requests for change and adaptation. This is why I think you guys have won our hearts when you presented. I think that really was that. Thank you so much. For some reason, but I know Jeff is on the background. I can't see the questions. Is there like one question, Jeff, that maybe you could read to us? Sorry, and maybe that the panel for what Ian and Graham can answer, and then we move on to the panel.
Thank you, Maud. Yes, we have a question in two parts for the for the guys. So, what level of occupancy do you get each week, and do you use a desk booking system to better manage occupancy, or does everyone have a desk?
Okay, great question, and I know the answers to all that. So as mentioned earlier, around about 60% occupancy Monday to Fridays, but as you know, Fridays are a particularly quiet day. So rather than doing what some companies do, which is we need people in on a Friday, we went the opposite way and said, well, let's just close 2 floors, and that saves us on heating, lighting, and cleaning. So that's what we do. So on a Friday like today, people will be on the 2nd floor, but the 2 floors are closed. So that's how we run that operation. We don't try and force people to come in just because the place is empty. We go, well, actually, that's just the way it is. That's the same in every organization. So let's make it as efficient as possible. So that's that side of it. In terms of desk booking system, we don't have a desk booking system because we very seldom get full. If we were hitting over 80% on a regular basis, because what we do a daily occupancy. Someone walks around, Sarah and my team walks around about 11:30 every morning and looks at every desk and just says, is there someone there? Is it empty? Or is it, towel on a sunbed type of scenario? And that's telling us, giving us our data. We're not getting any noise back from people saying they can't find a place to sit, Evan. So we know we don't need a desk booking system. I think if we were starting to hit 80% on a regular basis, we would say, and I've said this already, I've fed this back. If we were doing that on a regular basis, and you will start to get noise then that people saying, I'm coming in, find it difficult to find somewhere, etc. We would then look at a desk booking system. But at the moment, we don't. So people don't have their own desk. We don't even have team neighborhoods because people are coming in. All the data we've had is showing us that most departments are coming in between 1 and 2 days a week, which is kind of in line with the contract, which says we expect people to be in average 2 days a week. Then because of that, we're not going to give team neighborhoods, because people coming in 1 day a week or 1.5 days a week, then it doesn't make sense. But we do have banks of desks of 6s and 3s and 12s, different sizes, that people can book. So if they want to sit together as a team and they come in, they can do, and that works really well.
Nice, nice. Always a good question. And to be fair, I think that's going to go very well into my first questions about measurements, I have to say. So if we move into the panel, so now I'm bringing back Ian B and then Jonathan as well to this, and then Graham, and then obviously Ian, you stay on. So I think we were discussing, this is always good, right? Like, people are always keen to know return on investment before you do the project, after you do the project, as a continuous basis. So can you, any particular order, whoever wants to take this first, how do you measure your successful workplace experience? I can go with Ian Baker. Here we go. I push someone.
Hello. So I just found the end of that really interesting, actually. That and I was going to ask Ian and Graham a question about the parity between the office workers and the remote workers, and then the question around how do you manage the experience with desk booking. I was going to start talking about the fact that you need some technology in there, and Ian and Graham have just said that they're not using any technology. So that's really interesting. I'm quite fascinated to understand how that's working. So I know you've just asked me a question, but I'm going to ask a question back to Ian and Graham.
Go.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, do you want me to go now, Ian? Sorry.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, of course. So as I say, because if you think about it, when an office isn't particularly busy, people can choose spaces. There's always spaces around. Some people like sitting near the window because the design of the spaces that people have got we have got great views on site, and every window you're looking at trees. So biophilia and everything else are fabulous. So people have always got choices. I think if we came to a point where 80% plus in every day, people didn't have those choices, we'd start to get some feeling that, well, we can't sit together or we can't do this. So people just naturally just sit together in their groups when they come in, and we get feedback occasionally that says, on a busy day, I'd like to book a desk, but that's far and far between. And I think the fact that we have these group desks that people can sit at is the key, because it does. If someone wants to come in, they absolutely want to sit together as a team, they can do. But also, if there's a department day when the whole department comes in, they just tell us when it is, and we just block out the floor for them. And 9 times out of 10, in fact, more than that, we've got capacity in the other floors for everyone else, and we let them know what's going on as well. So, I don't think in the 2 years we've been open that we've hit a full office apart from results day.
Right. Okay. Do they know when other people are coming in? Is that managed, or is that sort of
we don't really, so exactly that. You can go down having all kinds of software systems and everything to say, when are we all going in? We just let people do it organically. So they talk to each other and say, right, so I know, for example, our commercial team, they say, we're coming on a Monday and a Wednesday, guys. That's the days we will go in. So if anyone's going in and you want to be with the team, it's Monday and Wednesdays, and other teams choose different days. So we've left it organically. If it wasn't working and it was a struggle, we're getting feedback, we probably would look at it differently, Ian, but it seems to be working in an organic way that teams just being sensible and going, well, let's all go in on these dates.
Yeah, I think, as you said, that's the reason that's working then is because there is the amount of space in order for it to flex
Correct.
and move, and that's the key to that.
It is.
So back to your question, Maud, I mean, I would be saying that measuring and managing a successful workplace experience, you need to measure it. We all know that, but you need to ask the right questions and never assume. And even when you've finished something like this great project, and I know that they're doing it because they've said they're doing it, but going back and asking and constantly reviewing what's actually happening, not just assuming that you've done it day one, it's working, it's amazing. Because obviously, as Ian said, if it starts to get more and more full, then you might need to look at other ways of managing that, because it could start to slide. I remember talking about this maybe about 2-3 years ago when we had a customer that we'd suggested a pilot of exactly that, complete free-for-all, or a booking system, or an AI system. And I was so dead against the free-for-all because I thought it would just be an absolute, mess, and people would rather
Yeah.
sit with their cycling buddies than maybe their colleagues or something, or don't actually like that person, so I'm not going to sit next to them, even though you might need to work closely with them on a daily basis. So it's fascinating to hear that that's working. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going to jump in to it. It's not complete free for all in the sense that we probably got across our little world now. We've probably got about 12 meeting rooms going from the room I'm sat in here, which is a little 4-seat space, to we're lucky enough we've got like an 80 capacity conference suite. And the blockable banks that Ian said, which go from 6, you can have up to 18 as a blockable bank of desks. That's all set up on our Outlook calendar. So if you wanted next week, Ian, to bring in 6 of your team, you can go into the calendar and go, right, I'm going to book that room, or I'm going to book that bank of desks. So it's not a complete free for all, but so there is that ability to sort of certainty in terms of your bookings. And what we did find was in COVID, we set up a desk booking system more through the health and safety aspects at that time, and that caused us quite a lot of problems as well, because we were finding a lot of people were booking desks and then not bothering to turn up. So you were looking at capacity, and people weren't coming to site, and you'd look around, and there was plenty of capacity at that point.
Jonathan, maybe I'll invite you to the spiel then, because I know Chiswick Park is also an award-winning workplace and business park, effectively, so a lot more than place. How do you measure a successful workplace experience?
It's interesting listening to the conversation, because also I don't come from this world. I come from an experience, and so all of my measures are qualifiable, not quantifiable. Obviously we've done, you can track your retention, you can track your attrition, you can track your turnover. Where are people going? Are people going to interesting different companies? Are they going to competitors? But this idea of what is successful is the one that for me is the most relevant, because what's successful for Ian or Graham or Ian or you is very different to the HR team. It's very different to the commercial director. It's very different to the CFO. And I think ultimately that definition of success is it has to align to the culture of the business, what you're trying to get for your customers. I'm customer-centric, always have been, always will be. Does your workplace lead to a result that benefits your customer in some way, shape, or form? I don't really care if the CFO is happy in this instance, because if the guest is happy, then the CFO will be happy. Having a cultural decision made by technology, for example, we've touched on it here. We use technology as a tool. We do not rely on technology. We are not a smart park, because actually for me, the culture of the people has more impact on the guest experience than whether or not they have a smart building. And so how would I measure workplace experience? Are my team mirroring the attitudes and the culture that I want our guests to experience? That's the simple answer for me.
Oh, that's a great answer. I would say for myself, I do try to capture that best scenario of IT, FM, and HR. So I try to do with some of you have said it, attrition, retention, maybe the ticketing system from FM and IT. So trying to see what the frictions are. So I'm trying to measure this to say, well, what are the friction? What can I change? And then I would do a lot, like Jonathan says, I do have like, okay, how many times they come in, the data on how much they use the meeting room and stuff like this, but I still use quite a lot of qualitative data, which is always a debate, I'm sure, in the industry, because if you take Ian on a good mood day, then he might give me a lot of stars, and that was fabulous. And if he comes on a day when he had a lot of rain, maybe less, but yet he had a lot of rain and he had his best customer experience, right? So it is possible to kind of keep having that. So I would kind of agree. Time is flying, by the way. So I might go for then the question of, because you are on the FM kind of leader, either you are award-winning workplaces. I mean, with MCOR, I know, Ian, you're doing a lot of for your clients as well. So how do you think the FM leader ensure that we contribute to that employee and customer experience together? Like how can we do that? Because you've touched on this, Jonathan, about the CFO will be happy if the employees are happy. I would love to kind of push on this. Anyone that wants to start with. Then I will push then. I will push. And I would say Jonathan then.
I think it's this idea that we, as employers, we have a responsibility to align our needs to the needs of our guests, right? That's simple, that's straightforward. If we are if you want your culture to provide open and enthusiastic communication with your guests, with your customers, and you have a battery hen mentality within your facility, how can you possibly expect one to mirror the other? And I think, and also I can't speak to FM. There are people on this panel far more experienced than I at that. But if you are trying to create an environment of openness, communication, modern thinking, then actually your facility, your hard services have to lead to that. We talked about trees from the outside. You know, you look at Chiswick Park, we're built around a lake. It's 1.8 million square foot of business, but it's 30 acres of manicured gardens. We win awards for our gardens. You can't see cars when you walk around Chiswick Park because the designer, Sir Stuart Lipson and Royal Richard Rogers, wanted that car-free environment. They wanted to create an atmosphere where people felt they were away from the hustle and bustle of London whilst being in London. That is facilities, for me, working in harmony with the vision and the mission of the project. So coming back to the original question is, what is the goal? What is the mission? What are the mission, vision and values? And are your services supporting that, or are they actually hindering it? Okay. That's the question you have to ask as leaders.
Very nice. Ian H, maybe.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely, Jonathan, you hit the nail on the head there for me, really, in terms of, you know, it's understanding, it's really understanding what people who come to site, what they want, making sure that experience, customer experience is, but it's about culture. So the culture at UCAS is very inclusive, and you get a feeling that whenever we have visitors, so we have ministers and we have TV crews, we have all kinds of different people come to our site, especially on results day. And the feedback from every different sector that comes in as a visitor, a customer, so to speak, is that they feel welcome, they feel like they're being looked after, the people are friendly, helpful, professional, well organised, the environment that they're in is fabulous, it gives them what they need, etc., etc. And as you say, it's all those things together. Again, it's the people, place, technology, it's everything coming together to focus being customer centric on making sure that we get the experience absolutely nailed for the customers when they come in, and getting that feedback from them so we know next year might be one or two things that if we did, you know, we could do better, then we learn from speaking to the people who've given us the feedback. And we've had lots of complimentary stuff, so we know we're doing a good job, but there's always room to improve, I think.
Nice, nice. I love the fact that you can use your feedback from your visitor as a measurement point, to be fair.
Correct.
Ian Baker, what do you think?
Yeah, a great question. I think that it's really underestimated how many of the levers that FM have that contribute to customer and workplace experience. And even though we've been talking about it for a lot the last few years, I still feel that there's a lot of work to do to explain to customers just how broad and vast those levers actually are. And when you start to look into measuring them and understanding what they are, and, you know, ranging from whether the place is clean and you know, with you got the right kind of services, it's huge. And I think that we need to get a lot better at asking the questions, even though we might be expecting a bad answer. I have quite a lot of times people don't want to ask the question because they've just assumed that they're going to get a bad answer, and we you know, we all know that, and you can come up with various you know, bad answers that you might be expecting, and that's such a really it's such a shame, because, you know, as soon as you ask the question, obviously you want, even if you're expecting a bad answer, you can fix it once the people have told you what it might be. So I think that wider realization that, you know, the levers we have touch on the organization's business, you know, the people that are using it, the technology that's using it, the how the building operates for those people. It's across such a wide variety that I think we need to improve on that. So communication really for me. And then collaboration between all sectors. Far too often, we're as FMs, we're brought in at the last minute, aren't we? It's great to see the project that Ian and Graham have been talking about. It seems that it's been led from you guys pretty much from the get-go. That's something that I think we really need to push forward. I think really get a bit more professional at is being involved in some of those strategic conversations, so that all of that experience is designed in from day one. It did make me laugh when you said the sit-stand desks were at the window, because the designer was focusing on the aesthetic and not the usability. That's pretty standard, isn't it? So focusing on the usability, not the design. The aesthetic is going to be key.
As soon as you see the new marble floor of the new workplace you're going to have to work in, and you look at it as an FM and you're like, how will I clean this? How will it make it spotless every day? It's funny, but I do like to play with designers. To be fair, it's always fun. And maybe super quickly to kind of finalize, I'd love again for people to go to on the webinar to come up with like a couple of examples that you have done. And we've heard a little bit from Graham on some like line sustainability stuff. Ian, you've mentioned some of the stuff that you implemented that kind of aligned that employee experience with effectively what it was doing for your customers, right? Even down to the people visiting on the TV crews. So what specific workplace initiative have you done, guys, to make a successful workplace experience? I'll go to anyone.
May I?
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate here that we pay slightly better than everyone else. And what that means is when we have a culture where we recruit culture. So I'm interviewing at the moment, and we do a cultural fit first, and then we do a skills-based interview second, because I can train skill set. I cannot train culture. Now that proves problematic because that talent pool is by definition slightly smaller, but because we are very fortunate that we pay more than our competitors, my talent pool is much wider, which means our recruitment process it's never easy and it's never straightforward. But what it does mean is I am able to cherry pick the best fit for the business, for the team, for whoever we're recruiting into. And that is worth its weight in gold to me. Yeah. So in terms of initiatives, it's not so much initiative, it's just this recruiting for culture, and being able to recruit from a bigger pool has made our life a lot easier.
That's a great initiative. I never heard that. So it's a great initiative. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you. Graham, what do you think? Because I know you're coming from more of like maybe you said it yourself, the hard FM side of things. What do you think you do to kind of have this employee experience that's just a little bit above everything?
It's a tricky balancing act, isn't it? Obviously, in terms of, just take today and yesterday as an example. We've got certainly here we've got this really odd cold weather. So with my hard FM hat on, there's no way we can put the heating on in the 11th of September. But ultimately, we've got our customers, we've got our staff, we've got our tenants that we can't, despite my financial or environmental leanings, we have to service them. So it's a small thing. Ian mentioned earlier, we're in a really nice location here. We're very fortunate. And as part of the sustainability group, it was kind of how can we kick this off? How can we kind of announce this to the business as something we're very serious about? So we managed to get in touch with the local council who were running various tree planting schemes. So we've got quite a lot of trees on site already, but we've also got quite a bit of sort of mown land. And we were fortunate enough to get to basically acquire a lot of free trees or juvenile trees. So we did a tree planting day, and we got the sustainability committee involved, and we circulated it out via various communications on Yammer within the business. So that was good in terms of it launched a sustainability committee, but it just gave everybody a really good buy-in in terms of what we were trying to do with that. It was very simple. It cost us nothing really. It was a real feel-good winner for little effort and no cost.
Love that. Good initiative. Yeah. Ian Baker, you must have millions with all of the clients you support at MCOR. You have to pick one or two.
Actually, the thing I wanted to talk about, I guess, was the initiative of aligning with customer strategy, and so we take the requirement to improve the workplace or the customer experience, and the initiative that we're working on at the moment really is to play that back to how that links back to the organizational strategy, to the property strategy, to the talent and people retention strategy. It's all interlinked. So we're taking that, because the output really is workplace experience. That is the tangible thing. I think really lots of other things are tangible around that, but pushing that back up the strategy line to play it back, and we did that a little bit with one of our customers where it's relatively COVID related, I guess. Really, it's the reduction of space. They had a lot of space. They had too much space across 6 buildings on a campus, and we were measuring that throughout COVID. We were measuring it, and we did a research project in their space to use them as guinea pigs, really, to see how they were coming back post COVID in a hybrid world, and then realizing that we could reduce the space but increase the experience.
Nice.
That's a proud one, because that ticked off quite a lot of sustainability boxes as well, in terms of saving energy and time and effort, and also was a really difficult one for an FM provider to do, because essentially we just cut some of the space that we actually manage for them. So a challenge, but
customer centric for sure. Customer centric.
Yeah.
And Ian, Humphrey, do you have a cheeky little one I know you've mentioned quite a lot during the thing, but any other one that you're working on that you want to share?
It's difficult to go where to go with it really, but I think what I would like to say is that in terms of Graham's team, the Estates team, they've gone from a very traditional way of I suppose operating a building that, as Ian just said there, you had everyone in every day, and you're managing that on a day-to-day basis, and you're measuring the output and looking at what the team's delivering. Now we're looking at a different experience, so it's making sure people are all bought into that culture and experience, and every team, whether it's the cleaners, whether it's the catering team, whether it's the estates team, make sure they're all bought in and understand the purpose of why we exist and what we're trying to achieve. And then that helps them when they're delivering things to actually challenge sometimes, go, sure, you want it that way. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that for me is really important, that if they get the why, they can add more value to the solution. So sorry.
Yeah, love this. And then clearly, again, with your great presentation on how you won the award last year for IWFM, you've also given us a lot. So, thank you so much. How time flies when we have fun, by the way. So there we are. We've done an hour. I think I just want to say a big thank you to UCAS team to present their amazing award winning, but also the other guys from the panel. So thank you so much for joining. Tiny thing for us is, Ian mentioned as well that you have other events. Look into the workspace SIG as well if you want to check this out on IWFM. For our SIG, we have the 26th of September, another award-winning workplace that's kind of allowing us to use their space is Moneypenny. That's a great event, and that's an in-person event. So please do come and join us. We all, of course, have the IWFM Impact Award ceremony that's coming. Thank you, Cass. You can't win twice in a row, so I'm sorry, but I won't be you. Just spoiler alert. But do book your space. It's always a great event to join in, and then a really, really great event that's also coming up that is in Chiswick Park. So Jonathan, that's just happened. This is the Unlock the Future conference. Jeff and I are also helping. Jonathan is helping. We just couldn't be more thrilled to have this. We think this is a great conference to join as well, which is where really we're going to see the trends, and business people are going to talk to us about what they see their business going and how FM and real estate could help. So do kind of register on that one. You can go on unlockthefuture.uk. Thank you so much, everybody. I think we are about time. Happy Friday, and then hopefully see you next time.
Thank you, Maud.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very
Bye-bye.
much.